Hello, everyone. Hey,
Hello,
Gabriel.
everyone. Hello, Misbah.
Thanks
Hello,
for joining,
everyone.
Gabriel.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to
Awesome.
be
We
here.
see, yeah, a lot of folks joining, Gabriel. They're excited about the LangSmith integration and the new features that came out. So that's amazing. Looking forward to the talk.
Yeah, got a lot of cool stuff coming in, and also in the future, things are just gonna get uh, our integration with LangSmith is gonna be you're gonna see it's just gonna get better.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Awesome. I see folks joining from Brazil. Let's see from what other places. It's amazing to have you all, amazing folks joining from all around the world at different time zones. Some folks in the evening hours, some at night, some in morning. This is awesome. We'll make this session worth your time and we'll jump in a few seconds. Just wanted to kind of maybe quickly go over some of the usual admin stuff. So on the right side, you see there is an option to ask questions anytime throughout the session. If you have any questions, just drop it in there. We'll get to it, whenever we get chance. Then also there are some polls on the right side. We might throw in a question or two. That there's a chat, of course. You can chime in anytime. So yeah, let's get started. And actually, before that, I see Gabriel. We already have a question, so maybe we can take that and then jump in to the discussion. So the question is, how or actually, what's the best option to host a Langflow app?
Hey, Marcus. So the best option that I've been using is Railway. I've been doing it a lot with that lately, and it's pretty nice. Like getting like you can set up a uh, Redis service really easily. We have a template right for Langflow that you one click and then you have all the environments variables there to set up like secret key or database URL that you have already a database there that you can set replicas that you can create. By the way, we are um, testing and honing, making it more robust our integration with Redis cache so that even Langflow is going to be a lot more scalable at that point. It's right now it's pretty close there. It's like 95%. But we will get help from people at DataStack that have a lot of experience with this. I've been talking to them. So Railway is a good one. Render is a good one as well. We have a setup there that a lot of people use. Misbah likes Render a lot, right? You use it a lot. They like I
Mhm.
went into their website this last week and they changed like everything, so I was kind of lost. But um, they are pretty good as well. Very like configurable.
Mhm.
And these I don't have a lot of experience with, but AWS, we have a setup there in the Ripple and Google Cloud Platform as well. A very complete and complex setup that you all can check out. But these two, I think they are like very easy to get started and create not get started, but fast to get started and just create a robust setup from the start.
Awesome. Yeah, Render and Railway, actually, both of them. I like using them because, as you said, Gabriel, right? We have those one-click deployment on the READMEs, so just anyone can click. It brings the configuration, the default configuration, then hit deploy, then it's available. So from the first click to deployment, it might take a minute or two, but then everything is
Mhm.
available, and there's a web link URL. You can always go. It's available for you. So I think, yeah, in general, it's a really nice way. And also right now, since last week, Gabriel, or beginning of this week, I started using the DataStax Langflow as well, the cloud version, right? So it's really nice.
Mhm.
So I just go in, I search Astra data stacks, and the first result on Google brings me to that page, sign up, and then we have an account, or basically, everyone have their own personal version of Langflow available, and it's pretty much almost everything I would say that's available that you can get on Render
Hmm.
or Railware. So I would highly suggest everyone to give it a shot as well. Awesome.
Yeah, and
So
you also get a
mhm,
very tight integration with Astra. The components there are automated to get your global variables already set up and all that. So it's like you get what we're saying, what we've been saying, right? You get a one-click rag like very easily.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, definitely check it out, folks. Awesome. So, Gabriel, before we get into LangSmith, there were tons of announcements that happened. Maybe a quick recap of what all launched. I know you all were working really hard last few weeks to get
Hmm.
all of this together. What are the things you're excited about? And then we'll go from there onto the LangSmith integration.
Okay. Yeah. So I really liked what we did for with the custom component, right? This new version of the custom component. It's a lot cleaner. You can see a lot more easily what's going to like what the component does, right? So it's very the code is cleaner for us to debug and to just use. So yeah, that's a good one. You can define inputs and outputs a lot more easily. You can define which function or method in your class will run when a certain output uh, runs, and also, of course, that you can define outputs. So it's more than one output. You can define as many outputs as you need, and they don't have to even be related, right? You can just say if it's your component, you can define, oh, I want my I don't know, my LLM to say like a joke when I put on on one output, and a blog when I put on the other output. You just do whatever you feel like, and that's like very cool, a very cool thing we added, and it just structured Langflow to be like even more limitless, right? Um, we've added folders that you can share, that you can manage. We've did a bunch, like many to count, improvements to the UI. We've added a settings page. If you click on your avatar to the top right, you'll see settings there. And if you click there, you get like many options to define global variables, which is something we added too. Define shortcuts, we've added and refined them as well. Um, by the way, if you press space if you're clicking on a component and you press space, you're instantly into the code window, which is like a good shortcut. I like it. Um,
Hmm.
there's like a couple more things that you can inspect the outputs now. So there are more than one output. If you connect components to one output and to the other one, for example, you can also inspect the output, see what's actually happening with that component. You can freeze that output as well, which is something we added in 1.0, so that you don't rerun that component every time, right? There's really a lot of things that we did, but these are very useful things that came in. Oh, the description now takes Markdown, the description of the component, which is another one that's cool. Managing the messages from the playground, you can edit them, you can delete them, you can just experiment with them to see how the model interacts with your messages, right? So another cool thing, multimodal. You can put images into the chat and ask your model to talk about them, those messages. Another cool thing. Yeah, maybe some other
Awesome.
things might come up. It's a
No,
big list.
amazing. Yeah, we had Rodrigo last week talk about some of the features. We covered some of them, but there's still so much remaining to cover, right? So maybe we'll talk about that in one of the upcoming, streams. We'll go just live and kind of work and build things, right, with those features.
Hmm.
Awesome. So yeah, again, a lot of those features, for all the folks joining, yeah, we heard from community. There was tons of feedback, so we really appreciate it. If at all, if you find something that you want us to improve on, you want us to integrate, add to Langflow, let us know. It's we're active on Discord. The dev team was quite heads down, working on getting some of these features out. So again, reach out to us if you have any question, feedback, or suggestions. So yeah, about LangSmith now. Perhaps folks who heard about LangSmith first time, a quick, 30-second intro to LangSmith. This is a
Hmm.
tool launched by the LangChain team. It's a platform you can sign up, you can make an account. It in As an overview, what it does, it helps you log what's happening. So you can integrate, and that's what we're going to show with Langflow. And when you run an LLM flow or an agent flow or multi-agent, whatever it is, what you can do now is in LangSmith, you can see actually what's happening. So you can see the logs, you can see the traces of what happened at each level. You can debug your application, right? Maybe you had an application that was, let's say, for example, a RAG app, right? Which is answering questions from your documentation, but it's not giving the right answers. How do you actually understand where is the problem, right? So that's where you can go at each level and understand, okay, what were the contexts that were pulled by this app? What was sent to the LLM? What was the response back from LLM, right? So at each level, you can see that. And not just that, there are tons of features in LangSmith. We'll get started with some basic example. And then, from there, we'll take any questions you might have on the integration or just how to use some of the advanced features. So yeah, Gabriel, let's get started.
Okay. We did a very good job with that's what we're calling tracing service in the technical side, right? That will like it's the beginning. Let me share my screen here. That's like the beginning of uh, just a sec. What we're planning to build upon, right? And LangSmith is like the first part of that journey, right? So in Langflow, you of course seeing every step of the way is very important, right? And that's why one of the reasons we added the input inspection, right? So if I go here, let me um, change this to uh, let's see, live stream flow, just so we can define it. So what this flow does is it gets a page. It will, and this flow was created by Rodrigo, our CEO, right? So this flow takes a URL. It will then get all of the elements using a scraping tool, web scraping tool called Beautiful Soup that's very famous in Python. Uh, so Rodrigo built these components here that you can find the element you specified. So he wanted to find A tags, which are sort of links in the page, right? And get the the URL that link points to, right? So here in this case, we're uh, passing in the LangChain documentation page. Let me see if I can share it here. So this page here, right? And it has a bunch of links that we see all around. And it then will get all of those links from that page, will then create a prompt that basically tells the model, hey, could you, this is like some part of the page, and these are the links. could you like list all the relevant links and just create the whole URL for us? And then we'll parse that data. We'll use our URL component to get the data from all of those links, split it, and save it to a Chroma database, right? Chroma index in this case. So if we click here, it's going to run these components, right? So while it's running, we can then go here into project, see Langflow and Livestream flow. And we are already seeing some of those components outputs, right? So we're passing this URL. This component is just a text input, so it creates a data structure that then gets sent to other components that do their own parts, and you get all the integration with LangSmith, for example, for documents, right? Since documents is a LangChain data structure, you can already investigate whatever, just how they wanted it, right? So you can see that this document has description, source, title, and also the metadata will be generally the inputs, sometimes the outputs of that component that you can, most of the parts in the metadata you can search for, which is it's very useful sometimes. I'm going to show a bit more about that in a bit. But you get, oh, and also there may be a bug in LangSmith, which I found yesterday. I must report to them, but it's fine. So then here we got into the OpenAI model. We're passing in all of that prompt that I mentioned that talks a bit and just points to a bunch of many URLs, and it spits out exactly what we needed, which is a list in Python with all the URLs perfectly readable, perfectly processable, right? So we then process that data, create documents, and all of this is happening in real time. If we go over to Langflow, we're here in the step where we're extracting the data. We're then gonna split the data in a bit and pass it on to our vector store. So going back here, these are updated in real time, and we can later on we're going to support feedback, and we can investigate exactly what came into the component. We can, as I said, we can search for these, right? So there are no runs that have this, but we can search the metadata, and in a bit you'll see a very good way we've developed to help with this feature specifically. So okay, so we're almost there, and now we're ingesting the data into the vector store. And LangSmith has like many features, so data sets, evaluation, and you. By the way, you can have this. Something is wrong, right? I think with LangSmith, maybe it's too much data that we're passing in. So you can share these traces too. So whenever just after we finish this demo here, I'm gonna paste those links into the URL, and you'll be able to see what. Let me go back here. So you'll be able to see what we're showing here as well, right? So now we're finished. Chroma DB has ran. These are the documents that it ingested 665, 67 documents. And now we can then use the retrieval flow, which is sort of a standard Langflow flow, which takes a chat input into a chroma or a vector store, right? That you plug into the search results output. By the way, just to clarify this part here, here we're using the same component, but since we're passing in ingest data, it's not going to search anything, right? And it's just going to create the vector store for us. And the retriever already shows here all the documents we just ingested, right? We can inspect the outputs of the Chroma database, but we can't see any search results because we're not searching anything, right? Now, in here, we're going to then run this. Like, let me get this question here. And I'll say, any tips on upgrading to version 0.2? And the model, then let's go back to LangSmith. We now have a second trace, and our input is here. We ran the embeddings because that's what the ChromaDB needs to parse the data, and we got 10 documents in our search results, which are then used to create the data we want, right? We got the documents as input, but we want the output as a string, as a piece of text. So we pass that to the prompt, create the prompt, and start generating the text for the user. So here is like the answer that in this case GPT-4o created for us about the breaking changes, about Pydantic being a change that they're planning on doing later on, about LangChain community, right? So this trace now has the OpenAI output, and then the chat output that just sort of formats everything and passes the data on to the front end. And as I said, now this is part of the metadata. We see, for example, sender. If we had a specific name for sender, for example, here sender name would be Gabriel, for example. That name is now searchable. So if you have a user or a user ID or something like that, you can put it in here and have that be searchable, and you can investigate in case you find problems with a certain user that their data or something like that that's causing an issue, right? So, okay, so this is the integration, some of the parts of the integration with LangSmith, right? All components of Langflow inside Langflow have that. Even if you create one from scratch, it will be integrated with LangSmith, and your inputs and outputs will be displayed in your trace, right? So I'm gonna quickly grab, so you can share here. You simply copy this, and now I'm going to paste it here in the chat, and then we can go over to do just one more thing, right? So this is one, you can take a look, and let me grab the one that has the message, right? LangSmith, as I said, is a very powerful tool. We have a lot of partners in Brazil that use them like constantly, even for debugging purposes, right? So let me see if I can find one that, okay, so here I have one other day, I ran a component that had an error. We can take a look at the error from LangSmith as well. There's a lot more information in understanding what could be the problem with your component or with your flow. right? So it's not just seeing the success, but also how you can get to the success faster, right? Um, Another cool thing I wanted to show, and by the way, just before I start with that, um, I'd like to, ask for feedback on what we're doing, and especially on this next feature, because it's very useful, and I think it's going to be in its utility is just going to increase in the next few weeks. Um, you're going to have a lot more information about what's running and what exactly type of information you want to have on your components, right? So if you think you can you have an idea on how to make Langflow better, please let us know, because it's like what we like to do. We like to listen. So let us know. So here I
So,
created this. Go ahead.
maybe
Sorry.
maybe real quick,
Before.
Gabriel. Yeah, no, this is really nice. I mean, tons of really useful information, right? That you showed that one could see in LangSmith. I was wondering, Gabriel, maybe as you're showing this example, how can one get started? Let's say I made an account on LangSmith, and
Hmm.
right now I'm in that portal, kind of going from there on to connecting both of these tools together and seeing if you could maybe also walk us through that example. I think that'll be really, really nice.
Right. Okay. So um, to get uh, Langflow to start outputting logs into LangSmith, what you have to do is you have an account, right? You create an account in LangSmith, you go into settings, you create your API key. Now, all you have to do is, let me grab a new, is set that environment variable in your environment, right? So you would do something like LangChain API key, which is the name of their API, of their variable. And you just pass in your API key into that, and that's it. It's already working, right? But there are other options that you can do to like help just customize a bit. So you can define the LangChain project name, which is the name that is shown here, right? So Langflow is the default name. If you pick another one, then you can for example have, let's say you have an instance in render and an instance in Railway serving for different clients. You can put the name of the clients here using the same API key, and having both of them be separate in the front in the projects list, right? So, but that's all it takes. You put your API, your LangChain API key on your environment, and you'll be good to go. It will start working instantly. You just run Langflow, run your flows, and everything will start from that point on, right? While the variable is on your system, all flows are traced. And by the way, and that's one point that you have to be careful, because LangSmith has how do I say, a trial version, right? But it's paid. It's a paid service, so you got to be careful not to trace too much and have to a big bill, a surprise bill, right?
And Gabriel, this environment variable, I think you mentioned that we specify that in the Langflow instance. So is that something that we can get? I think we can get it from LangSmith, right? It's somewhere in the documentation. It
Mm-hmm.
says what's the variable that we need to bring in, right?
Yes. So the variable should be. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing my screen, but I'm sharing. So the variable it is something. I'm gonna write it here. Sorry. So because I was sharing my terminal. So the variable is LangChain underscore API underscore key. um, and you don't have to set anything else. So we can
Nice.
see here, for example, LangSmith, right? And we can take a look at what, well, if they have any. It shouldn't be inside here, right? We can talk, can see a bit more later. But this variable here is all you have to do. There's nothing else that you need to do unless you want to customize some parts of it. You don't need to do anything else. And the tracing
Nice.
service already takes care of everything. And yeah, and we're planning on having a lot more integrations with other services as well as soon. So
Nice.
let
So,
me
so maybe, sorry,
go.
Gabriel, one question
Mhm.
around that. So can one simply add it as a global variable and it start tracing, or how does
No,
one go?
no, you do have to set it up in your environment, uh, but that's a good feature that I might add that. But you have to set it up in your environment. So on your computer or on your server, you have to set the LangChain API key to your API key. Later on,
Nice.
as I said, we're gonna add all the integration with the global variables as well.
Awesome. And believe there's another question. Can the LangSmith project name be scoped to each flow?
The project name, no. The trace, yes. The trace is project per flow. So you get, because that's sort of how LangSmith works, right? So whenever you run a flow, the default value is the name of the flow and the ID of the flow. So you can have multiple flows or with similar names, but the ID will gauge if you're looking into the correct one, right? For now, that's the default uh, template. But as I said, if you all think we should, change or define in another way, we can do so as well. And the projects are sort of like you. Let's say, for example, you want to have uh, Langflow, as I said, Langflow for client one, Langflow for client two. You just define the project, and then you have the flows are going to be in it. And even if they are using the same flow, they'll be using a different project name. So you get to sort of, for example, debug the same flow in different scenarios, right?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think it was a really nice suggestion about global variables. Also, if there are any ideas or feedback from the community, feel free to share. We'll be happy to integrate that. So yeah, Gabriel. So now we're connected with LangSmith, and now we go from there on to next step. So let's go ahead.
yeah. So one of the features that one of the sort of like the parts where we are improving more and more in the to 1.0 and beyond is logging and observability, right? So we want to have you create your component and just quickly uh, debug it or quickly see what's certain steps of it doing, and uh, not be the sort of uh, close to what we decide is a good information to be out, right? So let's say you have a custom component like this. You now you can just do self.log and you pass, for example, um, Misbah. Oh, is it with a Y? I always see with a Y some.
MISBH.
Yeah, okay, is awesome, right? So then I can just say, okay, so this is a live stream LangFlow LangSmith, right? And this will then let's check and save, right? We're gonna just say hello from Brazil. Okay, we ran this component, simple component. We can see the output, right? But now if we go back here, we get a new, oops, not thread, right? So we get a new, well, is it a bug? I have a filter here. I'm not sure what this is. Just a sec.
So yeah, this is nice to see
Yeah,
how the inner working of kind of the whole integration and finding bugs, reporting them, all of that looks like.
yeah. So all runs. Yeah. So I think the problem is with maybe the ordering. So this is
Yeah, while we're doing
151.
that,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
I'll
I
move
I would
again
say
to see.
to the folks listening, yeah, any sort of experience that you go through, and if you find something that you want us to improve on, always feel free to reach out. And yeah, we're also kind of ramping up on the documentation side, so we'll probably have more info on this integration, right? How you can, probably just the whole stepwise going from integrating or creating project in LangSmith, and then from there, how do you do that in Langflow, connecting that together. So we'll also try to have some good docs over there. And again, of
Hmm.
course, these webinars are also available. Yeah, Gabriel, back to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna see. For some reason, it's not showing up on. I don't know if I hit a limit or something. No, not this, but maybe if I can remove a field. Do you think that could help? For some reason, I don't see it in here, and I think that's probably related to some sort of
I think it's a
limit.
demo thing.
Yeah, possibly. Um, well,
Every demo for me, usually there's some glitch that happens that before the demo it never happens. So not
yeah.
an
Let
issue.
me
I think,
see.
yeah, but in theory, it should be
Yeah.
able to give us those logs in LangSmith, right?
Yeah. So I think there's a connection issue I'm seeing here in my other screen, and maybe that's why I see. Okay, but you can see my like my other screen, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I see, I see a connection problem with LangSmith. So maybe that's like the
Yeah.
gods of. So what we do is whenever you put a log like that, it creates a log in your metadata here with all the information you passed on, right? And then again, it's searchable, it's customizable, and we're planning on having those kinds of logs a lot more in our official components, um, and we'll add that integration with the logs a lot more in Langflow. So, for example, that you could see in here all your logs, every step that went through your component, and that will make it a lot easier to debug, a lot easier to understand each component, each step of your own components. For example, agents, what they did. You get to see the steps that were taken when an agent runs, right? Um, and oh, maybe it did run right now. No, it didn't. Yeah, something with the connection with the LangSmith server. Maybe
Yeah.
if I get it to run, I'll I'll share the trace on the chat, and you get to see it, and you get to understand a bit more of what I'm talking about. But this,
Sure.
for example, just to illustrate this name here will be there, the message will be there, and you can pass not just text, but you can pass dictionaries, and they'll be uh, exactly defined exactly as you wanted it, right? So you can have a very customizable logs from the start, and we'll have, for example, in an agent component, we'll maybe log each line of code so that we know where the bug happened. We'll log an error that happened. This is going to help not just for the integration with LangSmith, but also for the experience inside Langflow. This is going to improve a lot.
So that's actually, quite an interesting point you mentioned. So, so let's say I'm building an LLM app, right? And then I want to get an understanding. At what level
Mm-hmm.
should I look at the output from that node or blog, and then from there, when should I look into the settings in Langflow where it has the logs, right? And then from there, when should I look into the LangSmith, or do you think LangSmith can help with all aspects of that? Because there are also logging options available in Langflow itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So is there
Right.
some sort of a method that you follow, Gabriel?
Yeah, for me, myself, because I think because I'm one of the developers of Langflow, I use the terminal a lot. I check on every I put a log level as high as possible so I can see everything. Um, and most of the time I know how to fix it, right? But the the other one I like to use, I've been liking to use a lot is that now most of the information I want to find in the terminal, I can find inside, like, let's say, for the sake of, let's just put anything here just to make it break, right? So we can see some message here. So this message is because I created a an error, a weird error, but I can put any kind of error here, and it will show in here so that I can quickly inspect it. And also, I get a much more robust error here so that I can also inspect exactly the problem that we faced, right? So, yeah, this is
Mhm.
the tool, and this will also be an error like that will also show up in LangSmith. Um, maybe, yeah, as I said, maybe
Nice.
there's some connection issue, something that is taking too long to process, but that's sort of the process I go through right now, and I'm striving to, as a team, we want to be able to uh, in Langflow, right? Our team, we want to be able to debug everything we do inside the Langflow. So even Rodrigo always tells me that he doesn't want to look at the terminal. So most of the time, I look at it just because I'm I'm using the code most of the time, right? But what I really want is for us to have all the logs and all the logs we need to be able to fix any component, and for the developer that is using Langflow to be able to fix any component or understand any issues they may have just from looking at the outputs and the uh, the output, the logs that we are going to improve.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much. Oh, okay. So we got one. Let's take a look here. So now we have the logs here, right? Livestream, Misbah, got the message, got the name, and as I said, show similar runs with such metadata key and value. So if we have this name here on any log, we'll get to see all the logs that have all the components that ran and have that log. And that is very powerful, right? From the start, you get, for example, let's say you have a big flow and you know that some specific component you built has runs some steps that can create errors sometimes, or can just your model at that point is hallucinating a bit. If you create the correct logs name, you can quickly see and filter every time this component ran, and for example, run an analysis for how many times did it output correctly, and maybe even create a data set of all the time that it created correctly, how it should actually run, so that you can hone in on the problem, if it's on your prompt, if it's on splitting the way you're splitting data, or the way you're like ingesting data, right? So this is very powerful, and it's, as I said, it's just going to improve. We have a lot of plans to in the coming weeks for LangSmith and for the logs in Langflow.
Awesome. So, Gabriel, a question, I think in general. About this is asking for advice. So, if one were to start writing a paper on AI, let's see. I think it's quite long. I'll try to summarize that. This
Okay.
is Okay, so perhaps what advice do you have for younger engineers in general? I think perhaps writing paper on AI or so, or maybe I'll probably direct it more towards using Langflow and someone just getting started at the university level or so. What projects can they do? How can they learn more about Langflow and perhaps build with Langflow?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're very passionate about academy, right? And papers and research in general. So what I see Langflow being very useful is for like sharing those kinds of things, right? And we see that agents, multi-agents, um, architectures, they are like increasing in popularity, but also they are uh, growing in, let's say, use in the industry, right? So any this, for example, for Langflow, building those architectures and or replicating architectures from big projects, or from for example, seeing a paper that has come out and then apply that, or apply multiple multiple papers and see, oh, these are the papers, and then comparing them, seeing how they, for example, how is the interaction with the user, things like that. Um, I think that's a good one uh, for just exploring what's really in the forefront of the technology, right? We have a lot of plans on multi agents, on agents. We're like very deep integration, create frameworks. This is just like it's gonna be a very important focus for us in the next few months, and you'll get to see a lot more about that. But if I'm not like getting too distance from the question, I think for advice, I'd say study agents, study Python, because you'll need it. Agents, understanding them and knowing their flaws and how they can be improved will help you get a lot more in a sense of, even if it's just for your career or for understanding how the world is going to be from now on, because it's just getting started on this.
Awesome. Yeah, so I believe that concludes the questions. Not seeing any anything else. But yeah, for perhaps if you have any issues in this integration, reach out to us on Discord. And also, we are doing office hours, so we can help you debug, or perhaps if you have any issues, we can look through and help you out over there. Any other questions before we end, or anything else, Gabriel, you had in mind about the integration or the release of new features before we end?
Um, yeah, I think what 1.0 brought us is a new start, right? So to just to quickly go over what we planned for Langflow is a lot bigger than what we just did, right? This is the start of something. So Langflow can be the tool for you to build your agents, to build your LLM applications, and um, everything. We're going to put a lot of effort, and we have a lot of people, good people helping us, a lot of contributors from all over the world. We have Chinese translation on the works. You can see the PR in there. There are people from all over the world helping us. Brazilian, Portuguese, Brazilian, Chinese translation as well. So these are like we have a lot to um, on the works. We have a lot of good people with us. We want more people with us, good people. We always want more good people. We love all the help you all have been providing to us, be it on feedback, be it on helping us on responding issues, responding people on Discord. Thank you for that. It's just great. It's just like I get goosebumps just thinking about, or really chills, right? Just thinking about how people are helping us out, and just the community is really helping itself, right? So I think that's what we're here for. So thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
And to
That's amazing.
oh, and by the way, 20,000 stars. So
Oh
uh,
yeah.
really cool.
20,000 and more. Let's keep going. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Actually, we just got in a question. Are there any hands-on events in Brazil? So we do have a competition happening. Uh, do check that out. I believe it's langflow.org/IA devs. If you were to go to that, you'll reach,
Hmm.
or we can also share the link to the competition. You can win prizes and just freshly baked news, which is that we have the lab competition also coming soon. So we're partnering with lab to host a global competition. This is going to be from the 12th of this month, so about 2 weeks from now, or less than 2 weeks. You can compete for prizes. It's going to be 48 hours. So if you have an idea, or if you have something in mind that you want to build, showcase, so please do join. It's free to join, but then you can win prizes, cash prizes. So definitely highly recommended for everyone to take part. If you're in Brazil, of course, you can join the Brazil one. Globally, you can join the Lab competition. We're going to be doing more of these community events where you can do hands-on building, learning, and sharing with the community. This was awesome, Gabriel. Thank you so much, and we'll take more questions in the Discord chat. It was great to have you, Gabriel, and it was really nice to have all of the amazing folks joining from different parts of the world. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Misbah, again.